At 20 years old, Noah Walker owned exactly three things: a worn shovel, an old axe, and a tiny log cabin nobody else wanted. The cabin had been payment for 6 months of backbreaking work at a sawmill that went bankrupt before payday. Most workers received nothing. Noah accepted the abandoned cabin instead. People called him foolish. You should have demanded money. The roof leaks. The chimney leans. The place isn't worth firewood. Noah simply thanked the owner and hauled his few belongings inside. He had spent the previous winter sleeping in barns and empty wagons. Compared to that, the little cabin felt like a palace. During his first week, Noah repaired everything he could: loose roof shingles, broken windows, cracks between the logs, the chimney. Every evening, he sat beside the small stove studying the floor. Something bothered him. The cabin stood unusually high above the ground, nearly 3 feet. Most homes sat lower. Curious, he crawled underneath. The crawl space remained dry despite recent rain. Cold air moved freely beneath the floorboards. He frowned. All that empty space. Completely wasted. His father had once told him something he never forgot. The best place to store firewood isn't beside the house. It's where snow can't steal it. Back then Noah hadn't understood. Now he did. Every winter, settlers stacked wood outdoors. Then snow buried it. I soaked it. People spent hours digging just to reach enough wood for breakfast. Noah decided he would never fight that battle. Instead of building a woodshed, he built a cellar. The neighbors laughed immediately. One afternoon, blacksmith Owen Carter stopped beside the cabin. "What are you digging?" "A firewood cellar." Owen blinked. "Under the house?" "Exactly." He burst into laughter. "Why not build a normal woodshed like everyone else?" Noah smiled. "Because everyone else's woodshed sits outside." The story spread through Pine Crossing before sunset. The new fellow stores firewood beneath his cabin. People found it endlessly amusing. Children nicknamed it the underground forest. Others claimed Noah planned to sleep beside his logs. He ignored every joke. Construction continued. Using only his shovel, pickaxe, and determination, Noah excavated beneath the cabin one section at a time. He never removed too much earth at once. Heavy stone piers supported every corner. New timber beams reinforced the floor. Weeks of careful labor slowly transformed the crawl space into a proper cellar. Stone retaining walls prevented cave-ins. A gravel floor kept everything dry. Small ventilation openings carried away moisture while preventing snow from entering. By midsummer, the cellar stretched beneath nearly the entire cabin. Now came the real work: filling it. Every spare afternoon Noah cut dead, standing timber from nearby hills. Unlike fallen logs, standing dead trees remained remarkably dry. He split each log carefully, stacked every piece inside the underground cellar. Not outside, inside. By September the cellar contained enough firewood for nearly an entire winter. Visitors couldn't believe it. Old Martha Jenkins climbed down the wooden ladder carrying a lantern. Rows upon rows of neatly stacked firewood filled the underground room. Everything remained perfectly dry. "It smells wonderful down here." Noah laughed. "It smells like winter solved." She smiled politely. "I still think you've built the strangest woodshed in Colorado." Autumn arrived early. Cold mornings coated the valley with frost. Most families hurried to finish stacking firewood outdoors. Towering woodpiles appeared beside nearly every cabin, covered with tarps, weighted with stones. Everyone prepared exactly the same way. Everyone except Noah. His entire wood supply remained safely beneath his floor. One evening, the local carpenter visited. He looked around curiously. "Won't bugs eat the wood?" "No." "Why?" "The cellar stays dry and cool." The carpenter scratched his beard. "You thought this through." "I've had plenty of time." Then Noah revealed something else. Near the stove, he lifted a square section of flooring. A hidden hatch. The ladder descended directly into the cellar. "I never have to go outside for firewood." The carpenter stared. "You can refill the stove without opening the front door." "Exactly." The old man slowly smiled. "That's actually clever." It was the first compliment Noah had received since arriving. By late October, strange weather settled over the mountains. Migrating birds left unusually early. Elk descended into lower valleys weeks ahead of schedule. Old trappers exchanged worried looks. One afternoon, retired surveyor Henry Lawson stopped outside the cabin. He studied the mountain silently, then looked toward Noah. "You've got enough wood?" "I think so." Henry pointed toward the hidden hatch. "Good." He lowered his voice. I remember the blizzard of '71. Noah had heard stories. Entire towns isolated. Woodsheds buried. Livestock trapped. People exhausting themselves digging tunnels through snow simply to reach fuel. Henry rested one weathered hand against the cabin wall. My father nearly froze. Why? His firewood was only 30 feet away. Noah frowned. 30 feet isn't far. Henry nodded slowly. It was when 30 feet sat beneath 12 feet of snow. Silence settled between them. The old surveyor glanced toward the cellar, hidden beneath Noah's feet, then smiled. I've never seen anyone build a woodshed under a house. Noah laughed. Neither have I. Henry looked once more toward the darkening mountains. If this winter resembles the one I remember. His eyes returned to the cabin. People may stop laughing at your shovel. That night, heavy clouds rolled across the peaks. The wind shifted sharply from the north. By dawn, the first snowflakes drifted silently across Pine Crossing. Noah carried one final armload of split oak down into the cellar, closed the hidden hatch, and unknowingly prepared for the storm that would bury every woodshed in town except his own. The first blizzard arrived before sunrise. By noon, Pine Crossing had disappeared beneath a wall of blowing snow. Wind howled through the valley like a freight train. Snow drifted across roads faster than horses could walk them. Families rushed outside to gather firewood before the storm buried everything. Many were already too late. Woodpiles vanished beneath drifts taller than a man. Tarps disappeared. Markers snapped. People spent hours digging through frozen snow looking for enough wood to survive one more night. Noah simply closed his front door. He lifted the square hatch in the cabin floor. Warm air drifted gently upward from the cellar. He climbed down the ladder. Every piece of firewood remained exactly where he had stacked it months earlier. Dry, clean, easy to reach. He carried one armload upstairs. Closed the hatch. The storm might as well not have existed. That evening, old Henry Lawson visited. Snow coated his beard. His face looked exhausted. I can't reach my woodshed. Noah nodded. I figured. Henry looked toward the hidden hatch. You built the right shed. Without another word, Noah filled Henry's sled with dry firewood. Take what you need. Henry stared. You've worked all summer for this. We'll both freeze if we stop helping each other. The old surveyor smiled quietly. I knew you were smarter than they thought. By the third day, the storm became even worse. Several woodsheds collapsed beneath the weight of snow. Others were completely buried. People dug narrow trenches just to reach frozen logs encased in ice. Many discovered another problem. The exposed firewood had absorbed moisture before freezing solid. Even after digging it out, much of it smoked instead of burned. Noah's cellar stayed perfectly dry. The gravel floor drained every trace of moisture. Ventilation kept the wood seasoned. Each log burned hot and clean. News spread quickly. The blacksmith arrived pulling an empty sled. I need help. Noah opened the cellar. The blacksmith froze in amazement. The stacks looked untouched. You still got nearly everything. I planned for a long winter. The blacksmith lowered his eyes. I laughed at you. You did. I was wrong. Noah handed him several bundles. Take enough for your family. Soon the cellar became more than a woodshed. It became the valley's emergency supply. Every morning Noah measured how much each family needed. No one took more than necessary. Everyone helped carry loads. The neighbors who once mocked his underground cellar now formed lines to refill their sleds. Noah never charged anyone. We'll settle it in spring, he always said. One afternoon, disaster nearly struck. The storm buried Noah's front door completely. He pushed against it. Nothing. The snow outside held it shut. Instead of panicking, he smiled. He opened the floor hatch, climbed into the cellar. At the far end stood another surprise. Months earlier, while excavating, he had continued digging beyond the firewood stacks. Not another room. A narrow crawl tunnel leading 20 feet beyond the cabin. It ended beneath a small wooden hatch hidden inside a pile of brush. He had built it simply as an emergency exit. Now it became essential. He emerged outside the buried cabin, while the front door remained trapped beneath nearly 8 feet of snow. Henry watched in disbelief. You planned for this too? Noah shrugged. My father always said one doorway isn't enough in winter. The old man laughed. I wish your father had built my cabin. The blizzard continued for 11 endless days. Inside Noah's cabin, the stove never went cold. Inside the cellar, the firewood stacks slowly shrank but remained organized. Because the wood stayed beneath the heated cabin floor, Each piece remained dry enough to burn immediately. Outside, abandoned woodsheds stood buried like forgotten hills. When the storm finally passed, sunlight revealed a transformed valley. Only rooftops remained visible. Entire fences had disappeared. Several sheds collapsed completely beneath drifting snow. The townspeople walked through narrow tunnels carved between buildings. Many stopped outside Noah's cabin. His woodshed wasn't visible, because it had never been outside. The mayor climbed down the ladder into the cellar. Rows of neatly stacked firewood still filled the room. Not much remained, but enough. He slowly looked around. "I've never seen anything like this." Henry smiled. "You have now." Recovery lasted weeks. Throughout that time, Noah continued sharing the remaining wood until roads reopened. When spring finally melted the snow, pine crossing gathered beside the little cabin. The blacksmith stepped forward carrying a polished cedar plaque. Months earlier, he had laughed louder than anyone else. Now he smiled with genuine respect. He handed the plaque to Noah. Carved into the wood were simple words: "The firewood cellar that saved Pine Crossing." The crowd applauded. Noah looked around awkwardly. "I only build a place to store wood." Henry shook his head. "No." He pointed toward the open hatch. "You built a way to reach it." Everyone laughed softly, because they finally understood. The problem had never been running out of firewood. It had been losing access to it. Over the following summers, nearly every new cabin in Pine Crossing included an underground wood cellar. Some added hidden indoor hatches. Others built protected crawl tunnels for emergencies. Builders traveled from neighboring counties just to study Noah's design. Visitors often asked him whether he enjoyed proving everyone wrong. He always answered the same way: "I didn't prove anything." He picked up a split log from the cellar and brushed away a few specks of sawdust. Winter did. Then he looked toward the sturdy hatch in his cabin floor. "The safest firewood isn't the biggest pile." He smiled. "It's the pile you can still reach when the storm decides you've had enough." And from that winter onward, whenever newcomers stacked enormous wood piles beside their cabins, someone in Pine Crossing always asked a simple question: "That's a fine woodshed, but how are you planning to reach it after 10 feet of snow?"